Good evening, chat. Hello, everybody. Hi. Hi. Hello. 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 Hold on. I got to move this out of the way. It's kind of annoying me poking out in the middle of the floor. Move out of the way. Model supplies on the cart. There we go. There we go. Streamlining things a little bit. There we go. All right, chat. Welcome. Welcome to the show. It is Thursday night. It's not late. No, it's suffering time. It's suffering time. This isn't on time. It is. It is, though. You best believe in it. You best believe in. I'm later and gayer than Elgabus. I think you're wrong, sir. I think you're wrong. I beg to differ, good sir. The jump scare. Yeah, that's what it is, chat. Being on time is a jump scare. Although I just noticed, why is it... Hold on. I got to fix the camera here. Why did it move? Hold on. It's like all focused in the corner. Instead, it should be like this way more. It's weird. It's not funny either. Mm-hmm. There we go. There we go. That makes it a little more. That makes it a little better. So that was weird. I don't know why I did that. Every once in a while it does this. I don't get these, AI cameras. They're fighting me, chat. Everybody wants to fight me. I think I know why I did that when I had to put the laser level up on top of the monitor, and I think that caused problems for me. So we'll just take it. We'll just take it as it is. Anyways, welcome to the show, guys. Welcome. My name is Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm an attorney licensed in Ohio. Just recently moved to Florida, and we got a lot to cover tonight. We got a lot to cover. From Phil, is this a flock camera? No, but I am going to be going out and about out in my neck of the woods, and I'm going to see if I can find a couple of flock cameras and see if there's ways to screw with them. Whether, it's as simple as just putting a sign in front of them that says, this is a flock camera. This is a violation of our civil liberties. Why is it here? We're going to try that, see what happens. We're going to see what happens. But yes, guys, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Shiloh Hendrix, her trial is over. The jury is deliberating. And as of 9:25, still no verdict. But we're going to go through what's gone on over the past couple of days. There's a guy who's been tweeting out what's gone on. And it helps helps us understand what happened to Shiloh. We got a lot going on there. Is it illegal? Would it be illegal to stand on a flock camera? That would be interesting. So, Gogo Margot says, I didn't know you moved to Florida. Yes, La Floride. Yes, I know that the plushie has the wrong haircut now. Yes, it's true. We're not going to confirm this, but the camera is the Greys exercising mind control and gaslighting me. Wouldn't surprise me. The Greys are evil people who need to be removed from this world. Root and branch. And the way you could do that, chat, is by making America green again, praying the Gray away, and getting them subs. And that takes care of this menace we call Greys. Because you see this, Greys? It says not welcome. That's what this means. Are we going to try to get the plushies made small? Yes, I got in contact with the Chinese people, and we're going to have something worked out here soon. So, Coke Fairy is apparently speaking in Welsh, so I'm not sure what that means, but it means something in Welsh, presumably. Tuck Heck says, take care of the Greys as we do of the Tates. Yes, we'll take care of them all, chat. All right, guys. So I hope you guys are having a good day. It's been an interesting week here. A lot of going on there. Hassan is looking Sean up. That's fine. It's fine. I hope he comes by. That'll be fun streaming entertainment. It's been a little while. Hope you're doing well. He's talking to the Chinese. Of course he is. Hassan loves Mao Zedong. Apparently he loves the fact that Mao Zedong had a thing for raping women, and also he had a thing for little girls. Like little girls. So, another communist pedophile. Shocker, I know. Shocker, I know. Who would think it? But they are. Wouldn't think they are. Mao Zedong, yes, the leader of China. Mao Zedong. Yes, Mao Zedong. Yes. Hassan trying to come in, break into my house. It's like, God, what gift have you given me? I know. I'd be like, there's no way, chat. I tape the cell phone to my forehead and start streaming. It'd be great. It would be great, chat. All right, guys. I think it's time to get going here. Wow, you guys got to... I think a couple people are like, oh, he's going to be late. And they're like, oh, my God, he's already going. Okay, so let's get started, I guess, on this already. Hold on, wait here. Gary's doing a Nerdrotic Ignite. Doesn't he not know to stream when you are? Oh, well, that might be an issue. I got to compete with Gary? Damn. Shadowing says, hi, chat, and Sean, and the critters. Yep. They're all actually sleeping right now. 2.0 went to bed. She was really tired today, so she went to bed, and she took Clyde and Brody and Lainey all with her, along with the Kit Kat. So, actually, I think there's one Kit Kat out on the lanai right now, but like when they don't come in, we just close the door because it's like a big catio for them. And, you know, if they get hot, then they'll understand. We tell them to come inside. It's time to come inside. Amateur Iconoclast for $5. That's right, chat. You too can help the Tate brothers in their commissary fund. Says for Sticks. We are the world. We are the children. Okay. And then Emily Atori says, someone asked Nick how court went today in the Pat Dixon stream. Was there a hearing? I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't hear Aaron talking about it, and certainly Nick is not out there. I mean, think about it. If something went well for Nick, he'd be out here screaming about it all over Twitter, or he'd be going live about it. But I'm not aware of anything. I think there was something scheduled, but I think Kayla asked for a continuance so she could get her attorney. So I don't think there was anything today. Honestly, though, I mean, like, there was all kinds of other shit I was worried about. So who knows? Maybe it did. Honestly, I didn't have time to care. And then everything is fine over here. It says, I need spoilers because I can't stay for the stream. Is Shiloh going to have to put on a defense, or has she already started? She's done. The jury's deliberating. And we're going to get that. We're probably going to start off there. And I need to check who I was following and see if there was an update yet. Let me see here. Let me see here. Oh. Yeah, no, it looks like they're still in deliberation. So, but we'll get started there, chat, because it's time. It's time. And what are we going to start off with tonight, chat? We're starting off with the N-word. The N-word, chat. Just want to... That's right, chat. Just say it with your chest. Gotta say it deeply. Just... Yes, all the way, chat, all the way. So... Oh, we got the umlaut. We got the umlaut ease. Wow. Fancy tonight. We got the European ease out there. We got the European letters. Hoo. Oh, pinky. When in doubt, chat, pinky out. To quote the great Patrick Starr, when in doubt, pinky out. Rip headphone users. Act like this your first day on the job, sir. Not your first day on the job. Is this how you filter out the UK? Outlaw 2 says, I don't know. Oh, and the real quick, Sweet Tooth Fairy is saying, do you see that Italy won't send a wife murderer back unless we won't give him the death penalty? That's actually very common. Countries that we have extraditions with, or even countries we don't, will say we don't want him to face a death penalty. It's actually not uncommon. I mentioned this before. When I was in law school, I was an intern in a prosecutor's office in Toledo. And Toledo's right on the state line, so people would commit crimes that lived in Michigan or they would run to Michigan. And this guy was in Michigan's custody because he got caught up there when there were warrants for his arrest. And the governor of Michigan was actually, for at least a week or two, refused to give him back because we were possibly going to seek the death penalty against the guy. And then some more review of the evidence because he had murdered somebody, and it turns out like it wasn't going to be a death penalty case anyway. And they sent him back, but like the governor, like there's going to be a governor's warrant. There's going to be a whole issue about you need to send this guy back. And he's like, but no, we don't have the death penalty in Michigan. We've never had it. Only state to never had the death penalty. And that was actually a problem. Like it's not an uncommon thing, but the funny thing is, if it's other countries in the world, like Malaysia, Indonesia, really like a lot of places outside of Europe, they have the death penalty and they use it judiciously. So, but no, I had not heard about that. If you could send me a link to it, I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. Let me see here. Just catching up. And Jews says all N-words. Yes. Goyim. Oh no, you're gonna get you're gonna summon Gabe Hoffman. I don't know if I want that. If you say Goyim into a mirror 3 times and Gabe Hoffman appears and then he kills you. All right, let's get started with Shiloh Hendrix. And guys, if you don't remember, Shiloh Hendrix, also known as Joan of Arc, was a brave mother of children up in Minnesota. That's right, chat. Up in Somaliland, the new Somaliland here in America. And she was dealing with her children being terrorized by the other children. And as she was dealing with her problems, a Somali immigrant who's also a sex offender and a creep came up to her and started hassling her. Why? Well, because she used some choice words. Oh, the video is going to be played without bleeps. Come on now. Here we go. And this is what Shiloh Hendrix did.
Did you call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay.
I love that she did that.
Why don't you have the boss to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right. That's what you say.
Multi-kill. Godlike.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're going to call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Well, Chad, if you remember, then it turned into, very quickly from there, we got the NAACP seeking justice, chat, for what? A 5-year-old facing racial hate. And they got $340,000 at one point for that. Yeah. As a real thing that happened, yes. A lot of money. So, yes, as that happened. But yes. Oh, no, hate speech. Double kill. Combo breaker. But anyway, Shiloh Hendrix was charged with disorderly conduct. And like a real queen, she kept it 10 toes down as this case has meandered on for a while now. And she's finally had her trial. Her trial started. And guys, if you don't know where to go when it comes to this, there is a good account to follow. It is not streamed. So we can't watch it live. If we would have, I'm sure as hell would have watched it, and I would have told you guys where to go. But we don't have that. Instead, we have a Twitter account that I don't know if they're in the courtroom or they're receiving tweets or information, but they are the best source of information we've got right now. And it's a guy, Tom Hennessy, 69, a white independent journalist. And he has been involved in this. And we're going to walk through it a little bit. Just and we're going to get our Robert Gouvet on here and kind of read some live tweets here. So we start with day 2 because day 1 was jury selection. And then beginning of day 2 was opening arguments. But the day 2 started with the state's first witness, the father of the child who was the, running around. He testified the child is actually 9 years old at the time of the incident. Not 5, not 8. He's 9 years old. What else do we learn? The kid, not the dad, wears a police-installed ankle monitor because the kid runs off 2 to 3 times per day and must be held by the hand at all times. So it sounds like this little kid does whatever the hell he wants. And Isn't that interesting, chat? Isn't that interesting how that works out? But I digress. We need to keep going here. Because what do we learn from there? Well, that happens. And there was another, day 2 kept going. There was another questioning of the witness. It's the father of the 10-year-old child. And they had to have interpreters because, that is an issue. And the father testified he works as a bus driver. And, Tom brings up a great point because it's like, wait, how do you not speak English if, you need a driver's license and English proficiency for a CDL? It's weird. So they played the video then for the jury. And it took them forever. But what did the dad say? Eventually he stated he saw his son take an item from Shiloh's belongings. He said Shiloh chased after the boy, and he believes she was pursuing him not only to retrieve her property, but also to strike him. Well, at that point, the defense got their turn to cross-examine him. And yeah, things went a little differently once the defense got up there. The father admitted under oath that portions of his testimony from yesterday don't match his interviews with the police from last year. Yesterday, they said, she ran after the boy and he thought there was a fight. But the original statement made no mention of that. And then the dad was asked multiple times whether he or his family had any involvement in the fundraiser, and he said no. Isn't that interesting, guys? Isn't that interesting? Well, it's interesting because as it goes on, Shiloh's defense attorney, Brian Corrales, methodically, walked the father through his testimony. His earlier statements to police were vastly different. They were vastly different. The testimony, that 3 or 4 times he hadn't been involved with the fundraisers. But he refused to review or refresh his memory when he was shown things. He suddenly admitted working with the NAACP to raise money for his family, and he knew the exact amount he received. Oh, wow, they lied. Wow! Isn't that shocker? I know. He then claimed he had full control over the funds with no conditions, insisting the NAACP had set up no trust, and all the money was deposited directly in his personal account. And then he once again mentioned his son was 9 years old. And the boy was 8 years old at the time and is currently 10. And the government rested its case. Isn't that interesting? That's all they had. The government rested its case all on that. That's all they had. That's all they brought in. Guys. The one other thing Tom also wanted us to understand. The father testified he waited 10 days before contacting the cops. Think about that. Waiting 10 days to contact the police for this. It was so horrible and awful. So horrible and awful. It took 10 days for him to go find the police. Absolutely ridiculous. Then we get to day 4. The prosecution is rested, but the defense got to go. The defense went. So what happened from here? Well, the defense went. And they called the detective from the Rochester Police Department who interviewed the father after the incident. The detective confirmed that never once he claimed that he feared Shiloh would hit his son. In fact, he never mentioned any fear of doing anything during the interview. But the judge decided to warn the defense attorney for contempt. Based! Good job out there, Brian. Fucking repping the set. He kept pressing the obvious point that GoFundMe is a well-known, verified fundraising platform. And then when it got to the closing arguments, prosecutors tried to sell it as a simple open and shut case, claiming these were fighting words and her conduct was disorderly. They insisted about the evidence, not emotion. Well, but yes, they kept harping on the fact the boy's autistic. But the defense, their argument is clear. She's being prosecuted for her language. And her attorney called this the result of cancel culture running amok in America. I reached out to his office. I hope I can get an interview with him when this is all over. There's zero evidence Shiloh even knew what was stolen from the bag, let alone the kid was autistic. And, the dad shifting story in multiple lies. Yeah, he kept fucking lying. He's not credible. There was never any emotion. Never any fear that he was going to have his son get hurt. And then they also point out that apparently he just started crying. Yeah, so the poor widow immigrants. And notice he was evasive and lied when about to GoFundMe. And all Shiloh did was responding to the theft of her property. Were her words harsh? Sure. But they don't meet the legal standard for fighting words. And yes, Americans still have the right to speak freely without the government punishing them for it. Absolutely based. Absolutely based. Absolutely based by Shiloh. Absolutely based by Brian Corrales. I don't know how else you can look at it, chat. I don't know how else you can look at it. But that's where we are. That's where we are. As of 8:25 p.m., the jury is still in deliberations. Remember, that's Central Time because Minnesota's an hour behind for some reason. Because they are. It's really weird. But they are. So, no updates, chat. 29 minutes ago. Just refreshed it for you guys there. And then we get to, if you guys wanted to know, speaking of GoFundMes, here's a GoFundMe you could go to. GiveSendGo.com/Shiloh Hendrix. And you can help Shiloh defend herself. And what did she get? Well, the goal was initially, she has not met the goal, chat. But she came pretty close. She's almost 85% the way to the goal. Do you know D-Way? Do you know D-Way? Yes, D-Way is up to $850,000. So there you go. Once again, Godspeed to Shiloh. I hope she does win. Thankfully, if she loses, I think she can appeal. I would think she's got some grounds to appeal here. And honestly, I think it's a little horse shit. They try to take advantage of going after her. This has backfired horribly. And yeah. But we'll find out. We will find out there. What's the potential sentence? I think it's just a small amount of jail time. It's a relatively minor misdemeanor. So presumably, though, it sounds like this judge kind of has it out for her and is a little bit, it's Rochester, so it's like Rochester, Minnesota. So probably a little left-leaning, so she'll give her some time there. But we'll see. We'll see, guys. We'll see. But anyways, good luck, Shiloh. Hope you're doing well. Godspeed. Good luck. And I hope we can report on a dub next time. So, yeah, she can face up to 90 days. It's not like Aaron Imholt where she's facing 364 days in jail. But you know what? 1 day in jail is way too many for this. 1 day in jail is way too much for this. So, good luck, Shiloh. Let it happen. Mario saying, yeah, total horseshit, but here in Connecticut, they would still land a conviction, seen under similar circumstances. Well, I mean, if you're in Connecticut and you start screaming at the bullies and you can't do that in Connecticut, what kind of America do we live in? Some guy named Vinny can't scream at the blacks. Come on now. I thought this was America. So. If the jury rules innocent, could the judge step in and impose sentence? You mean not guilty? No. Directed verdicts can't go that way. Directed verdicts are a one-way street. If the judge believes you've been wrongly convicted, the judge can set aside the conviction and disregard it. If you've been acquitted, that's final. It's permanent. The judge cannot set that aside. The judge cannot overturn an acquittal. That's the neat part. That's a neat part. Oh, the Yukon incident was your case. Ooh, interesting. And then why I did versus Lamont. Oh, nice. Nice. Holy cow, there we go. I did not know that. That's interesting. We'll have to look that up. But no, the directed verdict thing, Stabby, it's a one-way street. You can only overturn an unjust conviction. An acquittal is an acquittal. It doesn't matter that it's whether or not you think it's unjust or not is irrelevant. It's an acquittal. She's innocent, just not guilty. Well, remember, she is Joan of Arc. You know, fighting the war, being the base trad woman. So, using Sean's login, he doesn't understand judges do whatever they want, including hiding illegals from the feds. No, I understand that, but she couldn't, like, literally, that would be immediately, even in commie Minnesota, they'd be like, yeah, you can't do that. Like, that would get stopped so fast if it happened. So, like 100% that you can't do that. Phantom says, was the child actually 18? No, but the child was almost 10. Andrew says that the shoe fits. Well, true. And good to see you, by the way. Yes, why is this Somali guy recording kids in a park? Well, I don't know, because he's trying to be like his prophet Muhammad. It'd be a pedo. That's right, chat. Remember, Muhammad was a nonce. Phantom O says the fatigue is real. It is. Phantom O saying he can't speak English, but he speaks English in the video. No, that is a different person. That was just some weird Somali guy at the park who didn't have kids and was being a creep. So, no, different person. But I understand why the confusion. EDW Raptor for $5 says, will this cover you saying the N-bomb? No. Betty was cheap at a $1. I believe you do it for $5. No, not for $5. Not just randomly. They're precious. I got to save them. Unlike, I treat them like Patriot missiles, but I don't shoot them off like Ukraine does. I'm very selfish with them. You could say I'm very niggardly in how I do them. I use them sparingly. You see what I did there? You see what I did there, chat? Oh. See what I did. All right, guys. I'm double checking. I'll double check Tom one more time. Like I said, guys, follow Tom over on Twitter. He's got 98.6 thousand followers. Maybe one day, chat. Maybe one day. Jury's still in deliberations. Jury is still in deliberations as it goes. Probably one of the bigger Twitter accounts I have following me. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. So. All right, guys. Now, going on from here, some interesting things have happened in the... Actually, I got to cancel out of a bunch of things here. I got to get rid of too many tabs. I can't. I got to get rid of Kirsha mode. Too many tabs, chat. Too many tabaroonies. Too many tabarooskies. Now, from here, guys, this was very interesting. Virtual private networks. Guys, you've seen like NordVPN and all these different places. You can use VPNs to mask where you are, where you're going. And on the internet, you can do for like Netflix, for example. You can use Netflix to show yourself in different countries. You can access different shows, programming. People can do that, Amazon Prime, all these different things. It's meant to be a tool that gives you some level of anonymity and hiding. Now, the funny thing is, it doesn't, because all those people you're going to and using know who you are, and they can sell that data, honestly. So there are a bunch of ways you could do it, but VPNs may not be the best way. As that said, VPNs can be used by people to break the law and do unlawful things. And surprisingly, out of Europe, the EU Court of Justice, the head court in the European Union, made a ruling on VPNs, and it wasn't some authoritarian nonsense. It was actually like a very based ruling. It was a surprising ruling. And what did they do? Well, they declared that VPNs are lawful technical tools. And it was a copyright case that it was all the issue about. And yes, chat, it was a copyright case involving Anne Frank. You can't make this up, chat. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. You can't make this up, chat. So what happened here? Well, they determined that, VPN publishers and VPN providers aren't liable for copyright infringement. So once again, this is interesting because even in Europe, they agree, like, this idea of contributory copyright infringement. That's not really a thing. That's not fair. It's ridiculous standards. So what do they say? Well, VPNs are lawful tools, and it involved the copyright involving Anne Frank's diary. And they say there are new boundaries for establishing online copyright disputes. And this judgment, you guys, you can read it. And if you want to read it, you can click here. It'll give you all the different languages it's published in. So go for it. Knock yourself out. But anyway, there was an online publication of Anne Frank historical manuscripts. And why I asked, you know what? Fuck these guys. I'm not. There you go. How about that? Now you can't see there. I have ad block on. Why isn't doing? You see, ad block's gone now. I have ad block on. Why is my ad blocker not working? You've blocked ads on, block. Yes, everything's on. But it's still ads are getting through. What a ridiculousness. So they said, honestly, though, here's the thing. How did this work? Well, there was a highly technical question. If a publisher actively tries to block visitors from a specific country, are they still breaking the law if a user sneaks past the border using circumvention software? But honestly, how is that anybody's fault? How would that be your fault at this point, chat? How would this be your fault if you're an online provider? I've blocked people. Well, what more can you do? What more can you do to people at that point? Like, that's it. That's it. I don't see how they would be responsible for this conduct, but think about what they wanted to do for people there and punish them for that. So according to the European Court, what do they say? The answer is no, as long as a website employs state-of-the-art geo-blocking technology, which it's not that ridiculous to do. You can do that stuff. And then you have to try. So it's just like contributory copyright infringement here in America. You have to be trying to do something here. But notice though, you can't be responsible if someone fires up a VPN to bypass the restrictions. And it says you can't point to the existence of VPNs to claim that security measures were ineffective. And it says, more importantly, and this is the bigger thing here for privacy advocates, the court, pushed back against the demonization of privacy software. And that is a common thing, though. I am surprised in Europe these weren't outlawed. I think there were a couple places they did push to try to outlaw VPNs. They have pushed to try to doing proxies and whatnot. But you're seeing in the UK, they're pushing for the internet bans for children, and they want to have you verify through ID how old you are and what you're doing. And it's all really attempts to chill anonymity on the internet, because that's the last great thing on the internet is anonymity. That is the last thing we have, Chad. It's the final battlefield. And these VPNs try to give you that a little bit. So they say, ultimately though, yeah, there's some issues with age verification though that happens. But what's the Anne Frank thing about? Well, it's also interesting because it's a copyright issue. So a bunch of Dutch and Belgian academic institutions published a free scholarly online edition of Anne Frank's manuscripts that may have been written with a ballpoint pen that didn't exist during World War II. I'm just saying, why? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? May have been done by Anne Frank's dad, Arnold Frank, after the war. What? Shut! Stop! Shh. Chat, stop. No. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not do that. They say copyright laws are not fully harmonized across Europe. And that's interesting because, the EU, you think it would be. And the legal status of the diary varies by territory. In Belgium and 60 other countries, the writings enter the public domain. However, in the Netherlands, parts of it remain protected until 2037. And they say, in respect to this, publishers hosted the site in Belgium and used geo-blocking software to prevent access from Dutch IP addresses. Visitors from the Netherlands were explained with the notice why they couldn't be there. The Anne Frank funds, which hold the copyright, sued, and they argue that standard VPNs easily allow users to mask their true address. And they were effectively communicating the protected work to the Dutch public. But once again, how is that their problem? What are they going to do? And they say, well, these can be circumvented. The possibility of such things is, and in all circumstances, a decisive factor in finding those measures to be inadequate and therefore ineffective. Like, what are you going to do? But it's really big here because they shielded VPN companies from collateral damage and piracy lawsuits, which saves them and protects them a lot. You're not liable for people bypassing restrictions. And it doesn't take much to put in the restrictions. So that's good, too. They aren't expected to go bankrupt to do this. And they say publishers aren't expected to build unhackable walls, and VPN providers aren't responsible for the actions of users who climb over them. And it's impressive. This came out of Europe. It came out of Europe, guys. It's very, very, very interesting. You wouldn't think about how this works, but they would let you do it. So good. I mean, once again, this was a very big surprise to me. A very rare Europe W from the European Union. Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't say this was bad and just screw off and ruin civil liberties as they routinely do in the European Union. Because holy cow, like I said, was not expecting that. But anyways, congratulations, Europe. You got a dub. You guys got a dub today. Maybe not forever, but you got today. Dirty Eric says, Ken is sus that her father's the only one to survive. Yeah, it's a little suspicious too. But no, honestly, there are allegations that her father had wrote part of the diary after the war because he found it in their hiding place, or the people who were hiding them found it. And he, allegedly there's allegations that, some of it was written in a ballpoint pen, which didn't exist prior to World War II. And during World War II, especially in Nazi-occupied Holland. But those are just allegations. The sound was coming from the attic. Yes, the sounds were coming from inside the house. Very true. Very, very true. The EUW, but it's close, yeah. What's rare, an EUW or a KW? Oh. It's like, wait, what? The room's spinning. I know Gabe is on the way. Bella, it's a joke. I understand it's not sus. It was joke. It was joke. Cowabunga says, I'll go back and save the $250K. Yes, the diary signed with a Sharpie pen and highlighter. All right, guys. Now, moving on from that, there are actually no. Yeah. No, we'll hold off on that. We'll hold off on that. I did these in the wrong order. Damn. A segue into a good story here. You know what? Actually, we're just going to go right into it. It's a good segue into the next story. Speaking of copyrights, if you guys were not aware, Anthropic, the people who bring you Claude, Anthropic people who bring you Claude, the AI platform, have been sued in a massive lawsuit, a class action lawsuit. And it's ultimately for people who have created books. And what have these books been done? Well, these books have been available online and they were being downloaded. And Claude was using them, scanning them, and reading them. And these large language models, they're learning. They're developing and they're progressing. And use these books to learn language. It's just like us. Reading books increases your vocabulary. It can increase your ability to speak. It can increase your ability to do a lot of things with our language. Reading is a powerful tool. Well, just like for humans, AI is reading everything it can get its hands on. And it's doing so at a lightning pace. Well, after a while, Anthropic, Grok, all these models, ChatGPT, they've amassed what has basically been one of the largest libraries around. Like everything off the internet, they're containing and having access to and refining and going through. Well, Anthropic got sued for that. It got sued for that. And it was a class action. And what happened in the meantime? Well, there's been a settlement in this case. And if you guys are writers, this may be important to you and how you handle things here. But there is an Anthropic copyright settlement website. And what is this all about? Well, first of all, how do you know if you qualify? Well, you then have to first go to the class action settlement thing here. So what is this? Well, a settlement has been reached, and they're going to explain to you who it applies to and what it applies to. And you're going to see why, guys. This settlement is for $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion for a settlement. Think about that, $1 billion settlement. That's a lot. That's a lot. And what are they going to talk about here? Well, it's a class action lawsuit claiming Anthropic infringed on protected copyrights by downloading works in 2 pirated online data sets called Library Genesis and Pirate Library Mirror. And I like how it's PyLime. The current settlement is for about $3,000 a work prior to the deduction of any cost, fees, and expenses. Well, we're going to talk about the expenses and all that, how that happens here. The settlement releases only past claims. It does not release any claims regarding the output of the AI. So what does this mean ultimately? It's all legal beneficiary copyright owners, and people generally were noticed about this as it happened. This means likely in practice authors and their loan-out companies, publishers, literary trusts, and estates. So what is this here? So what is it thing? You're qualified. Your book has to have been downloaded by Anthropic from those 2 places. You have to have an ISBN number. If you didn't know, the International Standard Book Number is what it is, or an Amazon Standard Identification Number. You had to have been registered with the United States Copyright Office within 5 years of the work's first publication. And you had to have been registered before being downloaded by Anthropic or within 3 months of the work's first publication. So it's important there. And it says, there's a bunch of options. You have to submit claims by March 30th to receive a payment. If you opt out of these things, like a lot of that's already happened here. So this is all your legal rights and your options and what is going on here. And it talks about what is the class? Why did I get this notice? And they have to send these out to everybody involved. What are works that aren't on the list? If you do nothing, what happens? Can you object to a settlement? Which, if you're in a class, you do have the right to object to these things. And from here, from what we know, though, about only 350 authors have opted out of this. From what's been reported out there, only about 350 authors opted out, according to Ars Technica, going through things. But where you get to the real fun parts of this chat are the actual settlement orders from the court. And this was out in federal court, out in San Francisco. And it is this, we're going to get to some of the interesting parts here, the money especially. You know, where's the money? Well, don't you worry, we haven't forgotten about that. But anyways, it's Bartz, Andrea Bartz, Kirk Wallace Johnson, and then Charles Graber and a bunch of parties in the class versus Anthropic. So this is an order granting final approval of the class action settlement. Now, this goes through all of this, and the court grants the motion for final approval and grants a motion for attorney's fees. Now, the court has to lay out how it grants class action settlements. And guys, remember, we've mentioned this before. In the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, there is a specific rule regarding class actions. That is Rule 23, and it's not Rule 34, guys, but there's Rule 23. It explicitly covers class actions under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. I mean, it literally only covers class actions. All right. I mean, that's pretty basic and tells you what you're looking at. So the court goes through and it talks about the final approval of settlements here. And they say that ultimately how this works and everybody involved, you know, there's the Authors Guild, the Science Fiction Writers of America, the Authors Registry, more than 170 publishers went after this and have things here. And they say that, you know, they sent out an email to rights holders sent to 594,000 potential class members associated with 99% of the works on the works list. So they went after as many people as they could, guys. Think about that. Nearly 600,000 people, 600,000 entities would be involved. As this goes on, they talk about how this is going to work. You know, a settlement has to be fair, reasonable, and adequate. It has to be free of collusion and consistent with the plaintiff's obligations to the class. Remember, just because you're a named plaintiff, you can't screw over the other guys, everybody else in the class. You have duties to your classmates. There has to be no fraud or collusion. They talk about here, the estimated payout is $3,000 is 4 times the minimum statutory damages amount for willful infringement. You know, and they point out that the minimum is $750, and that's true. That's correct. The minimum you could get is $750. And they say as of April 16, 2016, 91% of the works list had been claimed for a total of 400,000 works of the 482,000 on the list. So quite a few people joined in. The court says the settlement terms for the attorney's fees, including timing of payments, are reasonable. Attorney's fees are to be paid based on the benefit received by the class, and were agreed to be capped at 25%. But we're going to get to that. The agreement caps any request at 25% before costs and expenses. They say, under all of this here, they talk about how this is going to break down further. They cite factors to provide a framework for evaluating fairness of class action. And the court cites why it is. The $1.5 billion settlement, substantial benefits of the class in light of the novel claims asserted. And they say success at trial was not assured and a loss would have left the class with no recourse. That's true. You know, the plaintiffs have a strong case on the downloading, but success is not assured were they to go to trial. And that's true. It may not have been easy, but Anthropic also wasn't sure they were going to win. So when neither side thinks they can win, settlements are generally easier to put together. The settlement is also formed by extensive discovery. And think about it, there would have been a lot of discovery on this thing, a lot of discovery. When you guys see this down here, the 3:24, this is a 2024 case. It's been going for a while. There are only 350 valid opt-outs spanning 1,800 works that were timely submitted. There are 54 objections that were filed. And they go through all this. What we need to get to here, guys, ultimately, what happens? Well, the court overrules all objections and putative objections to the settlement, meaning that your objections don't work, your objections are not valid. But they cite all these different cases. And if you guys weren't aware, like cathode ray tubes that were in all electronics, there was antitrust litigation regarding that. Like there's all kinds of things that have happened. Was there proper notice? As to reach 500,000 potential class members were sent notice, not returned as undeliverable. It's within the 70 to 95% notice rate that's considered reasonable. As to the content, the court-approved notice expressly stated that damages could range from $2,000 to $150,000 and gave options for filing a claim and opting out. They did everything right, and the court has to cite that. Remember, they're building the record and protecting them, what they're ruling on here. What is the class definition? What are the boundaries of it? And they talk about, the objections requesting the court expand the class definition are overruled. We're not going to let you do that. And there were non-class members lack standing. And if you don't have standing, you can't make objections. And the class is limited only to owners of works listed on the works list. So if you're not on the list, it doesn't matter. You don't get your money. And that makes sense. I think that makes sense to everybody here. If you're not on the list, you can't get in the club. The adequacy of relief and the claims rate and objections here. The 1.5 billion is too low. I mean, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. And the court says these objections are not grounded in a realistic assessment of the overall risk and rewards of a trial. No, it's like Dark Side Phil. No, this is not worth $500,000 each time, Phil. It's worth $3,000. The settlement avoids a prolonged, complex, and expensive trial and all ensuing appeals. Yeah, this is going to be, think about how long a case like this would be. Not only that, but the appeals, like this could be a decade before it's settled. It could be a decade. There was a request for trial, one objection, one at trial. And you know what? The settlement is accounting for all the risk. And certain members of the class evaluate risk differently. That doesn't prevent the court from granting final approval of the settlement, saying, look, you guys want to go to trial, but everybody else does it, and I think that makes the most sense. They talk about the opt-outs. We're going to skip that part. We really want to get to where's the biggest thing, chat. What's the biggest thing here? Other settlement matters. Well, what's another settlement matter? Well, the one I'm kind of worried about, attorney's fees, expenses, and service awards. That's the one we want, chat. That's the one we want. That's the one we want, chat. Because what happened here? What happened here? So the plaintiffs moved for a 12.5%. They initially, we're only going to take 12.5%. Normally in civil litigation, you could get 25%, 30%, 1.5 billion. They're like, no, Judge. We'll just take a measly 12.5%. It's like an oil field royalty. It's an overriding royalty interest to their counsel. They got a reimbursement of $2.975 million in litigation expenses. Okay. A cost reserve of $18 million for future expenses, including payment to the settlement administrator, which it's going to cost somebody has to, and that's money they have to have on hand. They have to pay for the money to get doled out. And think about it, you have to cut a couple 100,000 checks. That's going to take a lot of money to do. Somebody's going to have to do it. You're going to have to print and mail and ship, and someone has to oversee it. There's a settlement administrator. So, yeah, that's going to be like $18 million to do that. You might say, there's no way. It's going to take a lot because you got to verify all this happens, and it's going to take a long time. Service awards of $50,000 each class representative. Each class representative gets their own cut because they were on the face of it. So the court addresses each request in turn. So district courts could choose which methods are used to calculate fees, but it must be exercised as a reasonable result. So how does that work? Well, it's well established that 25% is presumptively reasonable. And it is. It is. But here's the thing. We're getting 25% of a mega fund, like $1.5 billion, would yield windfall profits or class counsel in the hours spent on the case. Court should adjust the benchmark percentage or employ the lodestar method. And using a benchmark or any other rate must be supported by findings. So here's what happens. That's why the attorneys were smart. They said we want 12.5% or $187 million. That would impute a multiplier of 6.92 on the class counsel's estimated lodestar of $27 million. That's how much like their lodestar is there. And that's far outside the range of multipliers found to be reasonable. So, you're not getting $187 million. Okay, well, what should we get? And they say because applying the percentage recovery method would result in a windfall in light of the hours spent on this and the size of the fund, the court elects to apply the lodestar method to determine the amount of fees. And it says applying lodestar with a total multiplier was 4.8, and the court said was too high. Well, we can't do that. So how does it work? Well, under the lodestar method, courts must calculate the lodestar figure based on the number of hours expended on litigation. So in a case they cite, 22,490.6 hours. Think about it. They have to do a lot of hours. That's a lot of hours to be involved. That's a lot of hours involved here, okay? And they say class counsel's hourly rates range from $2,250 to $550. This is a big firm, chat. The partners, the associates, the junior associates, junior partners, paralegals, everybody involved is making big money. They say, accordingly, the claimed lodestar of $27 million is presumptively reasonable. The court can adjust figures upward or downward by appropriate amounts. And they say the quality of representation. Well, we're experienced in copyright. And they represent related parties in pending litigation against other AI companies. And they don't hesitate to go to trial. And the court says they received quality representation. The court noted that this is the benefit. It's the largest settlement in history for copyright. It's a 1.5 non-revisionary settlement. Everybody gets about $3,000. It's more than in the Google Books settlement that was rejected for releasing future claims. It's also more than 4 times the statutory minimum. They go through all of that. And they say the complexity and novelty of the issues is pretty complex. Novel issues in an uncertain area of the law, where they faced a real risk of adverse rulings of zero recovery. And that's the thing, chat. When a law firm goes to trial, we win if you win. We only get paid if you get paid. That means if they lose, you're boned. That's why they do that. That is a big thing here. So, that is how that works, chat. That is how that is all set up. And ultimately, you guys are wondering, some of you are saying, well, what's lodestar? Well, lodestar is just a basic thing here. It does a couple, it's a basic formula where you take the reasonable hours expended times your reasonably hourly rate. It's a very basic figure. So you take how many hours did I put into this and what's my rate? Now, reasonable hours expended, the court might say you, instead of spending 100 hours, you probably only spent 80 is reasonable. So they might cut your hours down. They might say your rate's a little high. But sometimes the court agrees. Sometimes it adjusts them properly. It can see this case is really hard, and they might say, we agree this was an insane thing you had to do. It's called the lodestar rate. And what that comes from, it's a big case that comes out of cases that go on. It's famous in a case called Lindy Brothers Builders versus American Radiator and Standard Sanitary Corporation. They came up with the term lodestar there, and it became kind of like a big deal. And then the Supreme Court ended up agreeing with it. And they said that it's, the Supreme Court has said that they've had cases where they have to decide it, and they bring it up, and it's been around forever. It's been around forever. It's a fair way to judge things, and that's how we cite these things going forward. And that's something we have everywhere you go. Yeah, Lodestar was a case too, wasn't it? I think. So, yeah, etymology is such a fun thing. Yes, it can also, like I said, in this case here, it was really hard. This is the first of its kind. It was massive as an albatross to do. So in light of the above factors, the court finds a multiplier of 3.75 for a total fee award of $101 million is reasonable. I mean, yes, I'm sure these guys are pissed they didn't get $187 million. They get $100 million. They get Dr. Evil money, chat. They get $100 million. They're getting $100 million out of this. So it's nearly it's only 6.8% of the fund, which is a reasonable amount. And you're like, damn. You're like, wait, that's it? Yeah. That's so yeah, there you go, guys. I don't know else what you want to say there. You might say, well, wait, what happened there? Well, it is the thing, guys. It is the thing. But think about $100 million. God, those lawyers are eating good tonight. Think about that if they could. Think about if they could do that. Yeah. Think about it. You've made your, and guys, I mentioned before, when you are doing work as a attorney in these law firms, it's like the mafia. You have to make your vig every time. Every time. If you don't make your vig, you're in trouble. These guys dropped a score on the boss's desk. So, good for them, yes. As Mario likes to point out, yes, less than any one of the Alex Jones plaintiffs was awarded. Yes, that is also true. And yes, they were each awarded more than $120 million. That is also true, yes. Yes. Yes, that's going to it's like Conor McGregor says, get the red panties on tonight, calling their wives. And yes, but ultimately, this is how you have to calculate fees. David says, I'm getting $100 million. Yes. Outlaw says, let's say the award is $100 million. How much of that was already spent and how much is split to those in the case? Well, if it was $100 million, they wouldn't have, the work may have been less. They probably only get maybe they're $27 million, but that might get cut down too. Presumably, though, the attorneys, keep in mind when you're an attorney and you're negotiating with the other party, believe it or not, while you have duties to your client, in the back of your mind, you're like, how much do I get out of this? If you've already been paid, okay, fine. Or if you get statutory fees, fine. But if you've got your cut and you're looking at it, that math is always part of what's going on. So don't worry. They weren't going to settle for $100 million because they would have not gotten anything there. No. But a $1.5 billion settlement, guys. Think about that. Those attorneys made $100 million. Woo! That is going to inflate some people. Some people, there are cats out there. Some of those guys just became senior partners became equity partners. Junior partners became senior partners. There are some high-level associates who are making partner now. And there are some junior associates who are becoming, partner track associates. Everybody's eating good in this world. Everybody wins. Well, except for the people, you get your $3,000. It's like Breaking Bad, though. Minus all the fees. Minus legacy costs. Sorry, no, I need all that back. Oh, wait, here's $20. And yes, chat, remember, this is why attorneys love these. Because the attorneys are the ones who win. And you can see for sure, here's how these guys win. They win so hard at all they do. Yes. Yeah, I know, we never do that. But it's always in the back of your attorney's head. Don't let them tell you it's not. They will still do what's in your best interest. But they're thinking about that as they go. Let's see. Katie says, I have an app that will automatically put me into class action suits. You know, 2.0, like every once in a while we get checks in the mail and 2.0 signs up for every class action she can find. And you get like a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there. It's always funny when it happens. But no, I remember the one time I was at a class action from Fifth Third Bank when I was in law school. And they were just like the way they were doing their overdrafts. I got like $1,000 back. And I was like, holy cow. You know, I should have expected they would screw up their they would screw things up when the bank is literally called Fifth Third, not 1 2/3. There's a comedian in Toledo. And he's like, I always say it's 1 2/3 bank. He's like, because Fifth Third's not a real thing. Oh, let's see here. It's going to be raining champagne from the sprinklers of the law office. It's going to be raining cocaine from the law office sprinklers. Yeah, it's 3/5. Well, no, it's actually the bank is called Fifth Third. So, let's see here. Bank of America paid me like $900 for that. Awesome, based. Hope you're doing well up there, man. Keep hanging in there. Some guy with cancer, keep hanging in there. I've cashed in $6 from Cal's. There you go. Oh, Settlemate is the app. Interesting. I'll have to tell 2.0 about that. That'll make her day. There's a class action against Steam in the UK. Wow. Gabe is going to crush them. Yes. Did I just pretend not to catch that? I did. Guy Vermectin says, the Hendrix jury deliberation is now the longest misdemeanor deliberation in Minnesota history. I don't know if I buy that because I had one where it was like 5 hours myself. Like, I mean, because it's only been a little while. Like, I don't know about that, but it could be. It could be. Oh, chat. It's just, isn't it funny how that works with people? You're like, I want to make money. And it's like, yeah. And honestly, that's those guys doing that. We never get that. I ever hear about the Sandpiper settlement? I have heard of it. Yes. They say earlier, I meant if the attorney's fees awarded were $100 million, how much of that was already accounted for? Not the entire case award. No, I get what you're saying, but they would have taken a haircut. They would have taken a haircut if that was going to happen. They would have taken a haircut. They wouldn't just get to eat it all up because that wouldn't be fair. But they would have taken a haircut. If that's like, let's say they could only get $100 million, they aren't going to get to walk away with it all. They would have taken a massive haircut. JDK says trial for misdemeanors. Yeah. You have the right to trial, even on misdemeanors. Now, there might be times where you're not entitled to a jury if it's not a jailable offense. So, for example, in Ohio, we have what are called minor misdemeanors. You can only face a maximum fine of up to $150. You face no jail time. You're not entitled to, Ohio has interpreted that as you're not entitled to appointed counsel, but you also don't get a jury for that offense. If there's liberty and life at risk, you can get a jury for those offenses. But yes, you have the right to bench trials for those misdemeanors. Yeah, that's totally reasonable. Like my haircut, even worse. Can we look at Brandon Gill? Torgo, I have not seen that one. We covered last night where he made fun of the oh God, what's her name? The Smithsonian lady, but I did not see the American Bar Association one. Sorry. Can you send me? Did you send? Guys, like I said, if you want me to do something, say, hey, I sent you a link. Please look at it, because otherwise, I don't have it. I don't have it right now. Okay, so I apologize. As of 9:16, the jury is still. So as of 30 minutes ago, jury's still in deliberation. So, if I won, I would walk up to the prosecutor at the end of the trial and say the N-word with a hard R. You might get held in contempt for that inside the courtroom. And that probably would get upheld. I wouldn't recommend it. Wouldn't recommend it, chat. Well, chat, we are 1 hour in right now, and we need to talk about our sponsors real quick. Chat, first of all, we have the dragonstreasure.com. Use the promo code criminal for 10% off your coffee, your tea, and your soaps. Don't let that scummy New Zealander. I mean, think about it. New Zealander is all zeal, and he's got nothing. He's boring. He's plain. He has no elan. We all know the real talent behind Meme Copium is Max Murrah. We know that. And what does Max Murrah like to do? Drink tea. He doesn't cope. He's a brave Japanese subject, hailing to the emperor, trying to restore the chrysanthemum throne. We're going to see Max Murrah leading the Japanese imperial military on its reconquest against the Chinese. And you can help with promo code criminal. 10% off, chat. 10% off. We also have PotCrim is your code at maf-arms.com, chat. maf-arms.com, MAF Corporation, chat. Funbusters, guys, they are in the middle of their dogfight with the state of California and Chody, the three-gun inventor, or the 3D gun inventor who likes little girls that are underage. Wilson. Help him buy wind chimes. Help him out. 10% off PotCrim. And then finally, guys, we have Stoney's Bar. That's right, chat. Stoney's Bar at 1580 Broadway Street in Rockville, Minnesota, chat. It is $2.50 can night. It is bike night. It is only $9.45, chat. Get out there. Crank that hog out on the patio as you're playing Twister. Play Naked Twister while you're riding your bike. Play Naked Twister while you're cranking your hog at Stoney's, chat. It's time to go. It's bike night again, guys. Heavenly Hog is there. I mean, there's all kinds of things. This Saturday, Raz Acoustic is in the garage. Guys, remember, when you're in the garage, you turn around, you come out onto the beautiful Stoney's patio, the well-seasoned patio now. How many times has that thing been preserved with all the baby oil from the Naked Twister challenges? It's well-seasoned, chat. It's like a good Lodge cast iron grill. You could be out there. Guys, keep in mind, August 15th, they are doing a poker run helping Patty Caspers in her fight against cancer. Starts at 10 a.m. They even have a gun raffle, chat. They have a gun raffle. You can win a gun. Get yourself a gat. Maybe they're going to give you a blicky. They'll give you a blicky. Maybe they'll even give you a switch. You get your blicky with a switch, and you can get a freaking stendo on it. That way you can walk around and just brrr to all the Somalis. Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a good idea to me. That's how I do it. But anyways, I would definitely take a look, chat. It's Stoney's. It's the place to go. It's the place to be. Once again, I don't know what more you guys want, but it's Stoney's, serving Minnesota for 30 years running. Commit perjury in an ongoing lawsuit at Stoney's. Yes, that too. Sean looks like the Dynamo for Pal World. I don't get the joke, so I don't know what that is. I don't know what Pal World looks like because I don't watch DSP play it. Oh, no. So, I sent you info on that class action in your Twitter DMs. Thank you. Yes. Stoney's one day is going to have to pay me for the advertising. Don't worry. Hey, I do it for the love of the game. I do it for the love of the game. And the fact that Cheeto likes what I do better than Aaron, that's another L for the toe. I take that from Aaron and I do it for free. I don't even get paid to do it. And I still take it from you. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up. Let's see here. It's a gum raffle, Sean. No, it's a gun raffle. I'm dog sitting my cousin's dog, and when you yelled Stony, he started whining. Oh, I'm sorry, pupper. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I don't want to make dogs get sad. Power does Pokemon with slavery and firearms. Based? I mean, is it good? I mean, this kind of sounds good. It kind of sounds good. I kind of like this idea. Outlaw says I might just drive out there for the bit. I know that's the thing. I don't take your wife. I take your game. That's it. It's Pokemon and Arc. Oh, really? Okay, cool. Cool. Power is very addictive. Slavery was just proto-communism. Yes. Chattel slavery. Yes. I watched Phil play yesterday, and it still looks good. Oh, he's playing it now? Oh. You had him at slavery, Peter Keith says. The guns are just a bonus. Well, you know how to make... You know how to get after a girl's heart. Let me just tell you. Delta Team Tactical. Nice. Yes, Pal World did fight Nintendo and won, which is impressive because Nintendo is extremely litigious. Extremely litigious. So, let's see. I did miss a couple here. Malcolm Combs says, I want to see the size of the boat these fees buy. Yeah, I know. I do too. I do too, man. I do too. Cam W says you might as well win one of those cases as a lawyer and retire. Yeah, but I would need to basically eat like 27 million up front. That's the downside of it. Like these firms are burning real money in the meantime. Silver Smurfer says, yes. Do they open an extra pack if it goes to appeal? Yes, for every brief we file, chat, we'll open a pack. Oh, Trekker Rob for $2 says, Sean! Yes. Yes. Kat, hi Kat, how you doing? Says, can one of the lawyers in here tell me what happens when lead investigator from a sheriff's office keeps refusing to show up for a deposition with the defense? Eventually that's going to lead to some sort of sanction against the prosecution. But for right now, it's just, you have to go to court and keep complaining to the judge. It's not happening. But eventually that ends up with a bad thing for the prosecutor. It just takes a while. And then Kevin Faulkner for $16.02. Thank you, Kevin. Saying conversation fodder. I have 7 spots to make your dream team House of Representatives. What are they? Well, I mean, I'm still hoping, like, if you've ever read the Tom Clancy book Dead of Honor, I'm hoping I can at least have that ending happen to Congress. And then I can just like start over with 7 people. I don't know. I would probably do, if I had to pick 7, Jesus. It's be tough, but it'd be like Steve Scalise, just because he's, out there screaming out the Bolsheviks. And the dude took a bullet. So he's tough. I would do Rand Paul. I would do Thomas Massey. Brandon Herrera, I'm hoping gets in. I mean, I hope he gets in just for the memes. So we need somebody here that are handling the memes, and Brandon Herrera can handle that. Who else would be good? I'd have to think about that, but those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe AOC so they can tell her to shut the fuck up all the time. But are you presuming like they're just 7 people among the 435? Because I'm not sure. The instructions are not clear. But thank you, Kevin. Oh. Me and 6 clones, that wouldn't be bad too. Yes. Joseph McCarthy. Yeah, can we bring him back from the ashes? Sure. Sure. I would do that. You know, remember, he was right, Chad, at the end of the day. I just need him to cut down on the drinking so he can do his job. And then ACOX says the ghost of James Trafficant. Once again, shout out Ohio. You know what? He was pretty base, too, at the end of the day. I like that. I like that pick. I'm stealing that pick. Putting him on my fantasy roster. He's going to be on my fantasy roster. And I'm starting him, Chad. He's not on the bench. He's starting. Paul's a senator, I know, but I make him a congressman. I do what I want. Speaking of Tom Clancy, did you like the Jack Ryan TV show? I've only watched like 2 episodes of it. And I know Bunk from The Wire is in it, so it's a little weird. That's like Jim Greer. That's like I think that's is that his Jim Greer or is that his John Clark? I thought it was his Greer. Admiral Greer was him. I forget. I don't know. But I know like Ding Chavez comes up in the story, which is kind of cool. So yeah. What about the Killdozer guy? What about Marv? I don't know. Marv would be like a one-trick pony. He'd be like, no, Marv, what's your answer to this problem? And no, it can't be use a Killdozer. Herman from the city council meetings. Oh, that's actually a good one. That's a good one. Because you guys remember, as he says,
God bless you, Donald Trump. Keep the simplified fags out of our government. Hey, Mr. Attorney, look at my finger. Fuck you.
Hey, he's right. When he's right, he's right, chat. When he's right, he's right. All right, let's get going. We got to get back into our stuff here. We got to get back into our stuff. We got a couple more things to get into. This is a situation that's not uncommon when it comes to politics, people who are grifting and taking advantage of people, is the idea of influence and peddling your ability to get things done. It's not an uncommon tactic in politics, and it's especially when it comes to you want X done. So somebody says, I can help peddle influence. They're generally known as lobbyists. So what do? You pay them money and they go to people and they sometimes can be like fixing it a little bit and they can, maybe some money gets shifted around and your problem solved. Maybe they just really lean on people. They call them some favors and they get what they need for you. Well, then sometimes people just lie and take your money. And right now that's an issue here because while NPR says this is a money for a pardon, notice that's the initial headline. But it says inside the growing lobby in the growing industry of clemency lobbying and pardons. And it is entirely a thing, regardless of who your president is. This is a very common thing that people will try to peddle for things like this and get things like this from you. Now, what is this all about here? So, this address is $600,000. That's the amount rapper Boosie BadAzz paid a Washington lobbying firm to secure a presidential pardon. Now, remember, you can't guarantee it. But anyways, Boosie, he was looking to overturn his federal conviction over the unlawful possession of a firearm because of prior felonies. But the pardon never happened. And now Hatch is looking to recover half of what he paid through arbitration. And honestly, it becomes a problem because, you can't guarantee what you're going to get. Now, does this sound a little scammy? It's almost like you're in a casino where the banker guy's like, look, investments happen and the money just sometimes dries up. It's like what they did to Marlowe and Stringer. They're like, look, these things happen. We're sorry. Where's the money? Oh, oopsie poopsie, it's gone. And, they're grabbed by the throat and say, I want my fucking money. I understand, because these guys are like, oh, well, we tried. Well, but there is a growing industry of wealthy clients trying to pay and secure clemency for Trump. But it's also been for Biden. People are trying to lobby for that. And it's going to be for the same who becomes the next president and the next president, the next president, the next president. It's been a thing for a long time, influence peddling. You hold yourself out. It's kind of like if you guys have watched Death by Lightning with the Charles Gateau guy. It's kind of the inverse, though. You're like, I've got a position, and I've had experience. I can get you things done. And a lot of times it is a scam. But yeah, it's like South Park, and it's gone. But I talk about the reporting trend of paying for pardons. I mean, but that's been the case forever. Like, what do you think happened with Bill Clinton and Mark Rich? So, but anyways, the pardon process is, and this is actually kind of a good explanation, it's through the DOJ in an office called the Pardon Office, which a group of people go over applications of federal pardons, and the government gets to see who would apply, and they evaluate through it. But yeah, if you people who have served portions of their sentences, they apologize, said they were never guilty, they said if restitution was be paid, that had been done. You're trying to show everything you could do here. Generally, that was the things you needed to get for a pardon. But a pardon is an act of mercy that comes from the king. But it's now an act of mercy that comes from the sovereign, the president. But it's also a political tool. It is a presidential power that's pretty much plenary. There is very little restriction on what the president can grant pardons for. The idea we talked about this before. The president, could he pardon himself? Technically, it doesn't say you can't, so you probably could as it goes. But, ultimately, pardons are just, it's once it's done, it's done. Remember, it only applies to federal crimes and offenses. You can't pardon in the case of an impeachment. That's ultimately something you can't do there. And, that's a big deal. It's a big deal, but it's generally unlimited. It's a plenary power. He can do whatever he wants. And they say, yeah, for a long time, it's a huge litmus test for people, trying to get out from underneath it. But they're pointing out like, oh, this is just unique under the Trump administration. Every administration's like this. So, but anyways, that, they try to make it like, oh, there was an impetus by folks around the president himself to do more of these pardons, taking power away from the Department of Justice. But the Department of Justice literally works for the president. They're part of the executive branch. They're under his control. So he's reassuming the constitutionally delegated power he already has. He's not stealing power. He's not taking it away from anybody. He's saying, I delegated, this was delegated out. I'm going to do it myself. That's all it is. That's all it is. You may not like that, but that's all it really is at the end of the day. That's all this is. That's all this is. Now, guys, you might say, well, wait, in my state, we have a pardon board, and they're the ones in charge. My governor can't just unilaterally pardon people. That's true. In many states, well, actually not many, there's a good number of states where that's limited. I think Pennsylvania, it's limited. I think California, it's limited. Texas, it definitely is. We talked about that with Daniel Perry. They have to recommend people to the governor to be pardoned. But other places, like Florida, it's my understanding, Ron DeSantis can just pardon someone. And Ohio, Mike DeWine can just go, yup, you're pardoned, done. And nobody can stop it. So what happens, though? Well, there are a group of White House aides and White House counsel, and they say, so lawyers, which is kind of important, they go over various pardons and give them to the president and say what they want done. And they say, yeah, but there are a lot of different pardon attorneys. There are lobbyists. There are people who are pushing, and they're saying, hey, I got, it's just like an agent trying to sell their person to a Hollywood executive. Listen, Marv, I got a great guy for your role. He's pardoned. He hasn't done a bunch of things. Listen, you got to help me here, Marv. You're breaking my balls. Yes, it's kind of like Ari, what he's doing on Entourage. You're selling these people. and getting them pardons. They say their number one advice to their clients is call who you know. If you know anybody remotely close to the White House, let them know you're looking for a pardon. And that's always true. It's always true. It's who you know. Who's your rabbi? Do you have a rabbi? Can they help you? How much pull do you got? Guys, that's just life. That's always life. Yeah, it's a big game and you ain't in it. That's life, man. It's who you know. It's who you know. Wasn't Daniel Perry in New York? No, Daniel Perry shot the communist in Texas. Daniel Penny strangled the guy on the subway and choked him out. So that's who that was. So, and then you got to get in front of the president. That's the second part. There are people who say they tell their clients, go to Mar-a-Lago. And if you can get your application in there and then in front of the president, it's the easiest way. I mean, yeah, it's just like anything in life. You want to get that job or you're trying to sell a book or a movie or a script. You got to give an elevator pitch sometimes. This said, though, you're trying to give an elevator pitch to a guy with a significantly impressive security detail who are on watch for the multiple assassination attempts that have occurred already at this point. So there you go. Yes, go to Mar-a-Lago. Don't bring a gun. Very true. Nepotism is life. It is, man. It is life. It's what it is. Like, it is what it is. But yeah, what happened for Boosie? Well, he paid money to happen here. And people have always paid attorneys and lobbyists for pardons. You're not paying for the individual pardon. You're paying the person to go advocate. And it's a really big deal. You're paying to get a big deal here. And yeah. And it's created a new economy of people to go lobby. Up to $5 million in some cases. Yeah, and it's really important. And ultimately, it's up to the president who gets a pardon. And that's always true. That's always the president. Every president's up to them who gets a pardon. Nobody can make that decision for him. And they say, we're doing the process in which the president wants us to do, and all the stuff happening is not part of what we're doing. And that's true. That's true. It just happens. But he paid for these attorneys to get it, and they said, sorry, man, we tried real hard. We tried so hard and got so far. But in the end, it never really mattered. You didn't get your pardon. Womp, womp. And they're like, well, have a great day. And, Boosie BadAzz like, I paid you $500,000. And they're like, yes, you did. And we appreciate you being timely on your payments. Thank you. The checks did clear. Have a good one. And Boosie's like, wait. Nothing happened. They're like, but sir, it did. We tried to help you. Sorry, it just didn't work. No refunds. Results. It's results may vary. No refunds. So, yeah, it just happens. It just happens, guys. Yes. So, seems like it can be extremely lucrative work. Well, you have to have connections because that's how they, as a lobbyist, you sell yourself. I've got the connections. I've got the inside track. If you don't have that, yeah. So that is a thing here. And it says no refunds, young Nibba, but he's not young. He's an old man. He's older. So yes, your mileage may vary. Oh, chat. All right. Moving on from there. Apparently I just saw this one. I was like, wow, this is great. But apparently in Cobb County, Atlanta, there was a big drug smuggling ring. And one of the people involved in it is a defense attorney, taking advantage of being able to get into the jail. So they were smuggling K2 laced paper in the facility by exploiting visitation between the attorneys. So probably what they did is you can soak paper in substances. And think about it. If I'm allowed to give you legal papers and you're allowed to have them. Hey, man, here's your indictment that you could smoke up. You could roll and smoke up later because I soaked the paper in K2. Yeah, it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea as an attorney It is not worth it to it's not worth it to do it. And the neat thing is when you go into a jail, like, yeah, all my shit can bypass security to an extent. Now they might run it through a metal detector, but if I come walking in holding a set of papers, they generally, jail staff, they flick through and make sure there's no staples, no paper clips. You can't pick handcuffs or make a weapon. Like, yeah, it looks like paper. Here you go. Like, they're not, if you have to bring in anything bigger, sometimes they run through a metal detector. But I've never seen them have a drug dog there sniff my stuff. And really, it's impossible because I'd be like, no, you're not having dogs sniff my fucking papers. So anyway, what happened? A grand jury indicted this guy. And think about it, like, it's so stupid to risk losing your fucking ticket over this. But apparently he did. So these guys are being accused of violating the RICO Act in Georgia. And remember, we talked about this. The RICO Act in Georgia is so loosely defined that if multiple people commit a crime, it's RICO, as we saw with the Donald Trump indictments. But this one actually sounds like a conspiracy to do it. So, but what did they do? Well, they noted that the paper was soaked in this stuff, and it's impossible to detect. Yeah. It's basically impossible. And there are problems with inspecting documents from an attorney because we still have privilege. They can't violate that. They have to be able to work in and around the violation here. So, better smoke the paper to check for drugs. Yes. Yes, that is very, very true. And physical screenings often fail to detect, things when they dry papers on surfaces. And the other thing is, because think about it, like, they can't test my papers if I'm giving them to my client, because if they test them, they might have to end up destroying it. And I'm not going to let them destroy legal documents and legal papers for my client. That's not fair to them. That's something I would object to. So it's really interesting how that happens and how that works. But yeah, don't be, Chad, if you're out there looking to go to law school, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Speaking of some other things out there, this is pretty funny. A undocumented immigrant, so an illegal, who murdered a woman in Michigan and is serving time in prison, was part of Donald Trump's campaign of the lawless. They're not sending their best. Well, Brandon Ortiz Vite, I think, Rosales Gonzalez, I think. Ay, los míos. He's suing Donald Trump for $75 million with a public apology and U.S. citizenship. Why? Because Trump used his murder that he was convicted of as an example of why we need to build the wall 10 fucking feet taller. So he's suing for this. He was previously deported. And he's serving a minimum of 39 to 100 years in prison for killing a woman back in March 2024. But he's already been deported once, and he comes back, and then he murders someone. It's like, oh, wow. Well, I guess she got to experience culture. So good for her, I guess. Good for her. Oh, but he did sue, and it's very funny because it's also handwritten. You guys have never seen a handwritten complaint. You are allowed to do them sometimes because you're in prison. You're not having access to a typewriter. But he's suing Donald Trump and Stephen Chung, his principal spokesperson. So, and this is because he's in prison. They talk about the Prison Litigation Reform Act. Like, this is stuff you need when you're in prison because you don't always have access to a typewriter. So they talk about the Prison Litigation Reform Act. So you have to give accurate responses, and you could be questioned about your litigation history to make sure you are not a vexatious litigant. Like, have you ever filed a lawsuit while incarcerated? No. Well, now it's yes. That's going to be an issue for you. Did you appeal decisions? Are they still pending? And where are you at? You're at the Chippewa Correctional Facility up in Kinchlow, Michigan. Or Kinchlow. Is it Kinchlow? I don't know. David, MLS, help me out. But anyways, who is the defendant? Donald John Trump, president, the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Stephen Chung, he's principal spokesman at the time. He's the big Asian guy. So what happened? Well, during a campaign stop at Grand Rapids, Trump mentioned about my case and mentioned me by name! Exclamation point! Calling me out and labeling me as a prime example of America's problem. But you are! You're a fucking illegal murdering fucking citizens! You are the problem! You are the problem! You're a scumbag, Harry! I what? S.A.? Aye. Yes, you are a piece of shit, homie. Although I was not present, I heard about his speech. On the night of March 26th, I was detained for a crime that changed my life. Because I was remorseful for my actions, I turned myself in and confessed to the murder of my partner at the time. Oh, that's so... he's just like, I feel so bad. Oh, no. Oh, please. I'm such a good man. I turned myself in. He says, knowing the consequences I bring, I stood tall. And when asked about the actions, on that, it said, but I did not know was how everything could unfold all on news networks and social media outlets. I mean, really, if you murder somebody, you're like, wait, I didn't know. Like, wait, people find out when you murder someone? No way. No way. You're like, wow. Oh, no, the whole community knows I'm a piece of shit and I murdered somebody that they all really liked. Oh, no. I mean, I don't know how this works in Mexico, homie, but here in America, yes, we have coverage of the court system. It's so funny. He's in prison. I don't understand. Yeah. He took his pinch like a man while he's suffering about it. Just suffer. Suffer. Yes, afuera, bastardo. Yes. And so from there, my nightmare began. I really feel like Norm Macdonald. It's like, for me, it was the it wasn't the it wasn't the hypocrisy, it was the rape. No, your real nightmare began not because you killed your fucking girlfriend that you really loved, or that you're going to prison forever and you're going to die in prison. No, the real nightmare is we're laughing at you. He's getting the real nightmare. He's like, the real nightmare is being A-logged. I don't know how you'd say A-logs in Spanish, but he's like, goddamn A-logs. It's like, that's right. That's your real problem. The fucking memers on the internet. My life is out in the eyes of the public, friend or foe. You could find out everything about me. Yeah. I felt it was only a portion of what my family was going through, but I can only imagine. I was housed in the jail. My business on TV, I was an outcast. Well, yeah, most jails, they don't like men who just beat and murder women. They think that's kind of cowardly and faggly of you. Yes. Yes, you're learning, homo. You're learning there, SA. You're like, orale, I'm real with you guys. And like, you murdered a woman, you're kind of a fag. And you're like, oh no. It's like, well, suffer. Like, I feel bad for this guy. Not only did everyone see my personal business, but they now knew my personal life, forcing me to isolate myself from others. It all became clear to me when I first met with my court-appointed attorneys. They explained how my case had now got blown out of proportion. It was now a high-profile case. It's like, yeah, that's the problem, not you fucking murdered your girlfriend. Like, you murdered someone. You're going away for... Michigan is life anyway. So what's the problem here, buddy? What's the problem? The shock in their eyes and the tears from mine was reaction to my realization that I was living everyone's worst nightmare. No, my worst nightmare is murdering the people I love and going to prison forever for it. That would be the nightmare. No, to be publicly famous, a target. It sounds like fucking dark. It sounds like Darkside Phil wrote this. It sounds like Philip Burnell wrote this. This is a trial and tribulation, chat. The goddamn detractors. The goddamn detractors. Holy cow. Holy cow, chat. I totally butchered what? What did I butcher? Oh, no. It says, to the United States of America, from here, everything went downhill. I was now labeled a cold-blooded murderer. In the eyes of people of this nation. I'm pretty sure I would have called you a cold-blooded murderer anyway. You're a piece of shit and you should never have been here. The anxiety and despair I felt compares to no other. Yes. What was, you think the murder was bad, but my anxiety, whoo, buddy. He's like, I was like Jeremy Hambley. I had to keep checking my pulse. Being a subject on public television made me a target, a risk to my case, a risk to my family, and a risk to my life. I presented myself at my preliminary hearing. It was respectful, although I was overwhelmed by all the cameras and people there due to the fact I had a high-profile case. It felt worse when staff and inmates spoke their mind about my case. In my presence, comments like, smile for the cameras, rot in prison, and Mr. Famous. Don't kill me. The nightmare. It's like Russell Greer. The plight. It's the hardship. Wasn't when I was asleep. It was going through my day in my skin while they spoke about me on television. Hearing about the way the others laughed at how I was portrayed, and they said the labels and how a person views you is powerful. Seeing it myself firsthand showed me in the eyes of this nation. I was viewed as a threat. You murder people. You are a threat. Homie, essay. What are you doing? They think I'm a threat because I fucking murder people. I was put into a category who I was as a person no longer mattered. This is Russell Greer. What only mattered was my race. It's America, homie. Welcome to America. My case and immigration status. That is very important. That is very important. You shouldn't have been here. You were sent home to wherever the fuck you came from, and you came back, and then you murdered somebody. So yes, you shouldn't have been here. That lady should not have died. If you had not been here, she wouldn't have been murdered. Once again, it belittled me, shattered my dignity and what I was as a person. That's what hurt you. Just you can call him a murderer all day long, but don't call him an illegal immigrant murderer. That really caused him to shriek. Oh, that's the fatal wound. All this propaganda before being sentenced. Thought to myself, wishing they just change the channel, or better yet, turn off the TV. Ay, 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 los míos. Los míos Dios. Roughly in 20 minutes, we will be getting the verdict. Nice. Here we go, yes. What dignity does a man who murdered his girlfriend possess? I don't know. I don't know what dignity you would possess. But apparently there's some dignity out there. The shame it brought to my family is a reality I have to live with now. It wasn't the shame that you fucking murdered a girl and that your family has to deal with that. No. I took full responsibility, but to use those and use my face for political gain was unjust. I think murdering people is unjust. That's me. That's me, buddy. It's me. Humiliating. When I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. I was center stage in front of a nation, public scrutiny. Meanwhile, being incarcerated, I had to deal with the humiliation that came from seeing myself on the news and on campaign commercials. It was now football season when you watch the Lions play. During commercials, they show the president campaigns, campaigning propaganda for our crimes committed by illegal aliens, labeling us like murderer, rapists, and drug traffickers. You are a murderer. You are a murderer. They displayed 5 individuals, including myself. What we were accused of, broken inside with no resources. I felt like I had no voice while others used my name in public humiliation. I felt isolated. I'm pretty sure the woman who got buried felt really isolated too. Fear of what was consuming to the point where I asked to be put on medications to cope. See, chat, that's why you don't code cope. Look at the people who cope. Mexican murdering illegals. They cope. Don't use code cope. With public defenders at my side, they can only do so much with all the publicity. Even without it, if you admitted to it, buddy, you're done. You were dunny anyway. I knew one thing. I had to take any deal they offered me. I would never win. Well, you weren't going to win anyway. You weren't going to win anyway. You know, I was coerced into taking any deal they offered. I pled guilty to second-degree murder. Sentencing, I was charged with murder, carjacking, weapons charges. My guidelines are 40 to 100 years. Way over my guidelines for a first-time offender. I mean, yeah, oh no. Poor little Julio. Or Brandon, or whatever the fuck your name is. I don't know. Umberto, Alejandro, Juan, whatever you are, buddy. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I don't kill no more. I only, like, what are you going to do going forward? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kill nobody. Like, I didn't mean to carjack her. Didn't mean to kill her. Like, come on, man. Come on. Come on, bro. You know, they were outnumbered people in the courtroom with cameras. I knew deep down it's because I was a political sacrifice. Oh, yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, like that. You're a political fucking sacrifice. Like, listen to this motherfucker. If I had had no press, I would have got probation. It's like, no, you wouldn't have. You murdered that woman. You fucking cocksucker. It's times like this I hope the Aryan Brotherhood finds him in prison. I really do. It's like you want some suffering, brother. I hope the Peckerwoods find you. I expressed to my attorneys how unreal it felt to have my life picked apart due to a public scrutiny. Going into the courtroom that day, subconsciously, they had already made up their minds because of how I was portrayed on TV. Therefore, it's a foregone conclusion. No, I think the fact you murdered your girlfriend was a foregone fucking conclusion. Really, I do. I do. Like, come on now. Come on now, Bossa Nova. Did you really like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen otherwise. Like, dude, come on. Come on. Come on. Like, let's be real. Come on now. But like, this is just, I hadn't read this yet, but this is hilarious. Yes, guys, I am aware the verdict is incoming. We will get to that. Was the victim also an illegal? No. 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 He's not. His victim was not illegal. She was here legally, guys. She was a citizen. And he killed her. So, yeah. 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 So, great stuff, huh? Great stuff, chat. In it. Okay. Big case is actually going to Supreme Court here, chat. We're going to sneak this in real quick. It is a case out of Alaska. And it's a case out of the Ninth Circuit. And what the case covers is Ken Jalpi. He is a bush pilot in Alaska. And in bush pilots in Alaska, guys, if you've ever seen them before, bush pilots, they are the pilots who fly like the little rinky-dink airplanes. They fly Cessnas. They fly modified airplanes, sometimes with pontoons on them. But they fly in and out of short places. And like in places like Alaska and up in the Yukon Territory, Northwest Territories, and even in just remote parts of the world, that's how you get around. That's your taxi. That's how information gets in or out. These guys are very, it's not an easy job. It's very dangerous because if you crash, I mean, here's an example of a bush pilot somewhere. I think it's in the Pacific. I mean, he's out in the middle of nowhere. So if he crashes, everybody's dead. But yeah, they fly in the bush out in the wilderness. And in Alaska, it's full of it. So what happened to Ken? Well, Ken went ahead and flew an airplane with some beer on it. And you might say, well, that's not a problem. Well, in Alaska, there are dry cities and dry areas. And while he knew that there was a 6-pack of beer on the plane, the lady he was flying back with supplies had snuck on a couple of cases of beer for her husband. And they charged him with bootlegging. And they convicted him. And they seized his $100,000 airplane over some beer and whether or not that's appropriate. So is that an excessive fine? Is it excessive? Is it excessive takings? And it's interesting because when he had his case done, he pled out and the court declined to take his airplane and thought that's way too much. That's way too much. So it didn't happen, but the prosecutors appealed. And they appealed all the way up to the Alaska Supreme Court, who said, actually, it's okay to take that guy's airplane over beer. Fuck him. Well, now it's going to the Supreme Court, and that's going to be heard on the coming docket this year. So it will be interesting. There will be oral arguments about it. And this has been going on since 2012, guys. This guy's been fighting for 15 years with the Institute of Justice for this. So it's very interesting how that happened. It's very, very interesting. And then we are, let me see here. We're still waiting, chat. Still waiting. God, this Tom Hennessy guy, like, update in one spot. Like he updates all over the place. And it's like so hard to keep up and see where he's on things. So it's hard to keep track. But this is going to be a very interesting case. What brand of beer? It was like Budweiser and Bud Light. So dry counties shouldn't be legal. People have the right to say they don't want it. In some place in Alaska, they decided the town didn't want beer. So Sky Queen, speaking of pilots, hello. It's hogwash, yes. So not the beer bowl. Was it an IPA? No. But it's very interesting, guys. We talked about before the Supreme Court has addressed sometimes some of the civil asset forfeiture things in a case for Timms versus Indiana, where a guy had he was involved in a little bit of heroin trafficking, and they took his $100,000 Land Rover, and the court's like, you got to go reevaluate because that may be too much. It has to be reassessed. And I think they're going to say just assessing it for reasonableness, which means the courts are probably going to uphold it again. But he shouldn't be allowed to do it, but we'll see. We'll see. We will see. I thought it was very interesting how that is set up and what's going to happen there for this guy. So let's hope, fingers crossed, he gets a win. He gets a win there. We won't know till later in the year. Now, this is one, guys, we talked about a little on Twitter. This got on the news. Out in Memphis, a mother is being charged with murder because she shot a grown man that was hiding underneath her teenage daughter's bed. A 20-some-year-old man and her 13-year-old daughter. Now, there's a little bit more to this, but Kendra Scott's facing first-degree murder charges, and this is her. Now, what is the issue here? Well, we don't know the full story. We know the guy was found on like the porch with a gunshot wound to the back of his head, but we don't know what's going on. We need to see if there's doorbell footage. It sounds like there's going to be an autopsy report, and there's also stand your ground issues that Tennessee has just introduced into the mix. We'll find out what happened there. So what do we know? What do we know about the case? Well, we know some basic things about this so far. Now, I understand on its face, we all want to say, hey, look, there was a guy under the bed. So, oh my God, I'm killing the pedophile or rapist in the room. That's not what happened necessarily. From what we understand, she got him up, rousted him out, and they were going out the front door, and she was kicking him out. Now, from what she's alleging, it sounds like she had to do something, but we don't really know. Because if he was just walking away, as much as we'd all like to say she could still shoot at him, you can't if the threat is done. Now, you could make the argument if you are a fleeing and violent felon. For example, if you stab a couple of people and you're running down the street with a knife and running towards a larger crowd or running away, people might be able to stop you and probably use deadly force to stop you and kill you. But in this situation, if you stopped it, diffused the situation, and he's walking back off, I don't know. As much as I'd probably say still not guilty, don't care. It's 2:00 in the morning at this girl's house. Why is he there? Don't care. Whatever happens, happens, homie. That's not the case here. They're not going to do that. So, yeah, I get it. For a lot of people, it's not guilty, but in the eyes of the law, it probably won't be. So, but remember, the guy wasn't under the bed anymore. He got out to the front porch. And if he was just walking away, like she kicked him out and he was like, all right, fine, I'll go find some other kid to be a pedo on. If he's walking away, you can't just go. Now, what I'll tell you is if that happens, you're going to get arrested. You're going to get charged. Whether or not you beat it is a whole other story. So what do we know from this right now? Well, we have an affidavit and we have a probable cause complaint. And what do they say? At 1:40, there was a shooting in Memphis. And they located a male, a guy, I was about to say a white male, but no, it's a black guy. Roderick Morton, which you're like, that's a name. That is a name, chat. That's a name. Who are messaging me? Who are messaging me? Okay. Not looking for that. Anyways, they found him in the front yard near the front porch with a gunshot wound to the back of his head. So it's not even you're already on the front yard. So they declared him deceased at the scene at 2 a.m. They spoke to Kendra Scott, and what did she say? Who told the officer she came home and saw a dude under my kid's bed, and I did what I had to do. They also spoke with the next door neighbor who advised that he heard banging and came outside and saw Kendra Scott with a gun going into her house. He went back inside shortly after, heard one gunshot. When he came outside, he saw the guy on the ground and saying, I shot him, still holding the gun. Should you never talk to the cops? Yeah, but this is, if you're going to say stuff, this is, I did what I had to do. This pedo was in my daughter's house. So she got sent to homicide for investigation. She got read her rights and invoked her rights. Good idea. A juvenile from Travis Road, so it's one of the kids who was a witness, came in and gave a statement that Roderick was invited by this juvenile, so the girl, and he came in through the back door of the residence at 1 a.m. Which, okay, great. So you're asking the girl who caused all the fucking problems here. The 13-year-old who invited a 20-year-old over. So Kendra came home and knocked loudly at the front door yelling, who's at my house? The juvenile stated she was scared of Kendra Scott because she had the gun in her hand and was angry, yelling, and has told the juvenile in the past that if she sees a boy in my house, I will put a hole in his big ass. Well, yeah, guess what? Imagine that. The girl's scared because, oh my God, I'm acting like a fucking hoe, and my mom might kill the guy I'm fucking hoeing out with, especially if he's fucking old enough to drink. Once a juvenile let Kendra in the room, Rodgers was found hiding under the bed. As he was leaving the residence with his belongings that did not include a weapon, Kendra repeatedly yelling, get out of my house, bitch. And when Kendra and Roderick got onto the front porch, the juvenile heard a gunshot. And what did she have? She had a Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm based. That's enough to establish murder. But you know what? Like, what the one witness there? Yeah. Yeah. Mom wasn't bluffing, chat. Mom wasn't bluffing. And honestly, where's the problem here? I don't have a problem with this. At the end of the day, should you guys do it? No, you're going to get arrested, but I think you're looking at jury nullification if this goes to trial. Really? You're going to prosecute this woman for this? Like, come on now. Come on now. Is this really necessary? Is this really necessary? I don't know. I think it's nonsense that they are, but it is what it is, chat. It is what it is. Hold on, chat. All right, guys, so let's see here. We're still waiting. It's been about 20 minutes. Let's see here. No updates yet. Still waiting for Shiloh Hendrix. Apparently, there's going to be the verdict. You think it was an execution? It very well could have been, but I mean, are people going to be? Are you really going to be upset about this one? I don't know. Not me. Not me. Not me. But we'll cover this one. This will be a good trial. This will be a banger of a trial, honestly, chat. Absolute banger of a trial. Absolute banger of a trial to cover. Yep, just like Aaron Spencer, she should be sentenced to a steak dinner. And since Memphis is right next to Arkansas, they should like go meet up. And they should go have a steak dinner together. I'll pay for them to have a steak dinner. On me. Drinks on me too. I'll even let them get the steak, the filet with the gold foil on it and all that. I'll let them do whatever the hell they want. Yeah, his belongings, meaning his clothes, yes. Chanel Booba says, I bet his pocket was full of condoms. I bet you it wasn't full of condoms. I bet you he wasn't using a condom with that 13-year-old. Guarantee it. So, living in Stoogs Walls temporarily says, have you looked at the State Department report on the infiltration in the West by Cuban intelligence? No, I have not, but that's something that's been happening forever. You know, the Green Movement in Europe was infiltrated by the Russians and the Soviets, and they pushed that to dismantle nuclear programs, nuclear power that got the Europe dependent on Russian natural gas. You know, they infected the anti-war movement here in America. And it's not a surprise that they're doing stuff. Hassan Piker is one of their biggest assets. You know, he streams and goes over and promotes them and does all kinds of stuff. So it's not a surprise to me at all that they've infiltrated things. You know, you do what you can to subvert your enemy. Also, hope you're doing well. Peter Keys has been a member for 7 months. Thank you. It says, which white female NGO employee helped write that? I don't think any of them did. He just went to an empathy dictionary. And then Durna for $5 says, if the lady went to the guy's mom's place after and popped her too, I wouldn't vote not guilty. I mean, I'd probably vote guilty there. But yeah, this whole fact pattern here, I still don't see any reason. I'm still saying not guilty. I'm still saying not guilty all fucking day on this. You know, the guy gets what he gets. I mean, does anybody really feel bad for him? I don't. I don't. We'll see here. Come on. Come on, chat. We're looking. Let's see here. I don't want to start the last thing because that's going to take a minute. Let's see here. Come on. Come on, guys. I still don't see it. If you guys see it, immediately let me know. I'm still looking. No updates on Tom Hennessy right now. Still no updates. And this guy's kind of boogered up all his stuff. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see here. Hold on here. So let's see. Let me see. I don't see any other update yet right now. The Stolferson quality time of Clyde, no. Jay Bebke says you could shoot older dudes raping your daughters. You can just do things. Yes. Yes. Is there a channel where you can watch? No, it's not televised, sadly. So, sadly, there's no updates, which is a bitch on this. So we'll just move on to the last thing here, guys. We'll move on to the last thing here. And that is for the top G, Andrew Tate. Remember, the top G out there, guys. He got arrested recently. And he was taken into custody by the U.S. Marshals while looking like the most zesty homosexual ever. I mean, look at this outfit that he's wearing. That's Andrew Tate, the top G. But look at him, and here's him getting arrested. There's his brother Tristan looking like a fucking character out of Dick Tracy. With the fedora, milady. Fucking goobers. Like, they're like obnoxious. Like, imagine being dressed like that. But anyways, they were arrested by the U.S. Marshals. They were apprehended by the U.S. Marshals. And, yeah, they sent their fugitive apprehension team out to get them. And they roll up on them, you know, because they're top Gs. And they're, you know, as they go here. And that is what happened to them. And you might say, well, wait, what did they get in trouble for? Well, when you go over to Britain, they use what's called the Crown Prosecution Service. The Crown Prosecution Service is what here in America prosecutes crime. So remember, in Britain, it's all centralized, more or less. And they have regional offices and things and shires and towns. But it's throughout Britain, the Crown Prosecution Service. You guys ever watch Law & Order UK, which it was a thing. So what happened? Well, CPS, also known as the Crown, decided to prosecute Tate and his brother with additional sexual offenses. So they're bringing further charges against them. So they're charging Andrew Tate with 7 further counts of rape, 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking, 3 counts of assault for harm, and 19 charges relating to indecent images of a child and extreme pornography. So it sounds like some child porn. Tristan has also been charged, his brother, with other things there. So if Andrew's top G, Tristan's little g, or bottom G, you know, 2 counts of rape, 3 counts of doing similar things. These alleged to have taken place between July 2010 and August 2017. Now, we've already talked about their problems in Romania. They've already had offenses and charges in Britain pending. But now it's going full tilt. Now, how is this working? Well, the British government is seeking extradition of them. Now, keep in mind that they are also dual US-UK citizens, but they have to be extradited. And how does extradition work? Well, that is the next step that happens here. And the way it works is pretty straightforward, actually. The way it works is there is a filing done in court. And the filing is in the extradition matter of Emery Andrew Tate, which is Andrew Tate's real name. Bruv. He's a true hustler, bruv. He's a chess master. But it's a complaint for provisional arrest with a view towards extradition. So they point out that, why are they doing this? Well, the United States fulfilling its treaty obligations to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the official name of the UK. There's a treaty. It is an extradition treaty enforced between the US and the UK. And when was it signed? Well, it was reinforced in 2004, and it's a 2003 treaty. And it related to an exchange of letters as amended by instrument and the agreement on extradition between the US and the European Union as to the application of treaties between the United States of America and the United Kingdom. So what does it mean? Well, treaty provides in Article 12 for the provisional arrest and detention of alleged fugitives pending submission of a formal request and supporting documents. In accordance, the United Kingdom has asked the U.S. for the arrest of Andrew Tate. So what are they doing? Well, they're saying he's accused of rape, assault for bodily harm, and other things. These were committed within the jurisdiction of the United Kingdom. And in January 2024, a judge there signed a warrant for his arrest. The warrant remains valid and enforceable. And based on its investigation, they claim Andrew Tate and his brothers had females who were cam girls and they performed sex acts for money for subscribers. What did they do? Well, one girl said she was working there when she met with Tate in England. And then while there, he put his arm around her neck and placed her in a chokehold. And over the course of the next hours, Tate placed her in chokeholds, releasing them for brief intervals, all while having sex with her without consent and getting raped and choked. But remember, as we learned from E.G. Carroll, some women like that. But it sounds like this was actually pretty intense, and it was a lot of
rape,
bruv. Yes, but this also happened. Women would go to Romania to work in the webcams, and they would take their passports, hold them hostage. Totally like the Tates have talked about doing all kinds of fucked up things. So they've admitted to doing all kinds of awful things to women. Later again, they did more of this, putting more penis and vagina. The penis in the vagine. She said she didn't consent to the actions. And they have messages from Twitter, and she communicated with Tate through his Twitter, and there's probably things of there, and it shows Andrew Tate in front of the Capitol building. So they can prove it's him, and I'm sure he talked with her about it. All kinds of shit there. And they talk about other things, crimes against unrelated victims. They talk about all the things that happen here. In Article 2 of the treaty covers the offenses for which extradition is sought. Now, guys, remember, not everything will be extraditable because we can agree that certain offenses you can get extradited for. But, for example, all the speech laws in Britain, we won't extradite someone for that. They're First Amendment issues. We don't have to agree to those. But we can agree to certain offenses, and we probably agreed to rape and murder and various other serious offenses. But notice this was all filed under seal. So Tate was co-hosting a boxing event in Miami on July 18th. And on the 17th, they observed him in Miami. And the UK is submitting a formal request for extradition. And they said Tate would likely flee if he learned the existence of the warrant. Yeah, he probably would. And he can go around the world. I mean, he lived in Romania. He's got the ability to go everywhere. And then this here, guys, is the actual documents of things that were signed. These are treaties. And they talk about the agreement on extraditions. And eventually, you see this was signed by the consular director of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office to renew the embassy of the United States, the assurances of its highest consideration. So this is from the British government functionaries who are signing these treaties. Also, the FCO, the Foreign Commonwealth Office, is the organization Mahmoud Khalil was working through when he was a glowy for the British government. Now, this is from the Embassy of the United States of America signing the treaties, and the ambassadors can be involved in that. And yes, they avail themselves the opportunity to express Her Majesty's Principal Secretary the renewed assurance of highest consideration from the U.S. government. And then they talk about here how things get signed and how all this works. From the United States of America, John Ashcroft, the Attorney General. Remember, in 2004. For the government of the UK, whoever the hell that would have been, I don't know, in 2004. And then here's how this works. The extradition treaty itself, you have to cite the documents, and you file them because you're going to have to show proof. The obligation extradite, the offenses, nationality, political and military offenses, prior prosecution, statute of limitations, capital punishment. Look at all these things covered in this. How this all works. All the different provisions. The extraditable offenses. An offense shall be extraditable if the conduct on which the offense is based is punishable under the laws of both states by deprivation of liberty for a period of 1 year or more, or by a more severe penalty. So, for example, all the speech laws in Britain, you can't be punished for those here. Even if there are 20-year prison sentences in Britain, you can't be punished for them here, so you don't get to be extradited for those. Whoever that was, guys, in the British government would have been like the Justice Minister in 2004. So somebody with a C in their last name. But that's what they're talking about here. So, no, you saying the N-word here, you can't get extradited for. Me saying anything about the Muzzies or the Packies or, like whatever I want to say, I can't get extradited for that, even if it's a serious felony there, because it's not one here. So that's the limit. So that's the biggest thing. Here. So if you guys are ever worried, like, Could I get in trouble? Nope. As long as it's not a penalty here. Even if Britain is hopping mad about it. Now, let's say I did commit a crime and I said some really nasty and defamatory or racist stuff, or I threatened the British government or government officials, or I said I hope Keir Starmer gets murdered and I hope it happens. I can't wait for it, or I'm going to kill Keir Starmer, as an example. Let's say I did that. The Labour government could put out a warrant for my arrest, but the U.S. government probably won't honor that. But here's the thing. Let's say I travel around the world. That's a problem because I can travel anywhere I want to go. But if I travel into the Commonwealth, I'll probably get picked up. Or they could work with Interpol and put out like a red notice, which is an actual thing, not just a movie title, but it's an actual thing in Interpol. I could get picked up traveling through different countries, going to Europe, going anywhere I think. So there are times where that could be an issue for you. That could be an issue for you. Yeah, Tate knew of the warrant. Yeah, I mean, it's been a thing. I mean, I think they've talked about it before. So we'll see. Hella says, maybe if you come on, could you keep the slurs to a minimum? Yeah, and I need to, I'll hit you up on your message there, Hella. Yes. I'll be joining Hella this weekend to talk about some stuff. Don't worry, I wouldn't waste my... Oh, you're talking to her, not me. Jeez. So, yes, the top Gs are looking at a lot of time. The Romanian case is still pending. Who, buddy? They're, it's not looking good, guys. It's not looking good. The top Gs are going to be on the bottom. You know, they're going to be not so top G going forward. I can tell you that much. It's going to be a rough time for them. I mean, it sounds like, I mean, they've really much admitted to a lot of things. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, you know, we'll have to keep that all there. They presumably will get extradited. Mainly, like I've said before, chat, extradition is a pretty perfunctory process. You just have to cross your T's, dot your I's, have your paperwork in order, and extradition's granted. You confirm identity, you know, and have a good one. And they will be taken to Britain and prosecuted, it looks like. So there we go. Now, let's see if there's Tom Hennessy giving an update. Give us an update, Tom. No, I don't believe there's an update. Hold on here. I don't want to leave now that we know it's coming. Let's see here. Okay, I think this is actually very funny. If you type in Shiloh Hendrix, the types of accounts that are waiting for her right now. Stormtrooper with the wolf singles. Like, oh boy. Oh boy. Let's see what happens here. We're still waiting. Come on, Tom. Like, what are we doing here, man? So let's see. Come on. What happened? Man? Slurs are my love language. Yes, me and 2.0's love language. So very Ukrainian accounts. Yeah, no. No. The Ukrainians don't get to take... They don't get to make a hobby out of the white supremacy. Still no updates. There's our queen, chat. There's our queen. Where is it? Come on. I want to know what happened. I want to know what happened, chat. I want to know. No. He may have to wait till do that after all the verdict stuff. Well, somebody could run out after they learn the verdict. Oh, let's see here. The Ukrainians are what made the Durlawangers famous. I'm sure anybody in the Durlawanger Brigade could have made it famous. Like, let's be real. So let's see here. I don't know. My cat's name is Karen says, who is that? I don't know who you're talking about. Oh, EDW says that they lose the Romanian case, would they get taken back like Ceausescu and his wife? For the Tates, yeah, I don't know, but they would, spending my life in a Romanian prison sounds really fucking awful. I would not want that to happen. So I would not want that to happen. That sounds really bad. But it's funny because the British government's like, oh, wait, no, the Romanians still have access to them. And it's funny because Romania got screwed on this. Like, they got released. The Romanian government agreed to release them. And they came back to America. But the British government always wanted them. But the Romanian government was never going to give them up. So this is just like a play, like a long con for the British to get the Tates back. And now the Romanians are going to be shit out of luck, which is hilarious. And the British might say, we'll give them back after they're done with their sentence, which is probably going to be a life sentence. Like, these guys are probably going away forever. So, not so good for them. Not so good for them. Come on. Come on, dude. Is there a... Oh, let's see here. Yes, 18 minutes, like 2 hours later. We have any updates? Yeah, no updates, chat. No updates. No updates. The latest. Some guy's saying it's soon. Oh my gosh, come on. Let's see here. Nat socks. That's funny. Jesus Christ. Some of the names on here. Okay, Savannah Hernandez, the reporter. Yeah, like from TPUSA. What is she covering it? No. Damn it. The hell is Our Own Nation? Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, Shiloh Hendrix on trial for, just defending herself and her kid. Oh, jury reaches a verdict. Oh, KIMT. Okay. What's the verdict? Like, come on. Oh, let's have this, chat. What do you guys think is going to happen here? Guilty or not guilty? Replace my batteries, please. Oh, no. Oh, no. I need the chirp. I know Andrew Bronca has the chirp. I know he's got a chirp. Chirp. Hey, potentially criminal. What's the smart money in the verdict? Free my shield maiden. I'd like to think she's going to get acquitted. What she's charged with? Disorderly conduct. Disorderly conduct. Sarah Fields is making its... Oh, thank you, Afton. Great. It makes it sound like the courtroom is taking forever for people to get in. Well, sometimes that's a problem. People are fucking around and not ready to be there. Let's see here. Sarah keeps saying, stand by. Getting people back in is ridiculous. Okay, well. You guys, Sarah Fields, yeah, let's see what happens here. Like, what is going to happen? We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's the verdict is based. Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, we can watch fight here in a second, but yeah. I'm out of loop. What was the charge? Disorderly conduct. Disorderly conduct. So Ammo's currency has been here for 22 months. Thank you for being here. It's gonna be guilty. The jury's probably all nonsense. Maybe. But it's an all-white jury, so we'll see. Roberto says, was it the N-word that made it disorderly? The video seems kind of calm. Yes. They're arguing it was disorderly just to say that. Second-class citizens, you don't want that Minnesota law, Jason Streamer. He'd spend all the stream trying to get her into a relationship with him and his wife. Yes. Probably would. An amateur Okada class for 5 subs. Let's get it a woo for everybody and a woo for Shiloh. You know, Clyde would be not guilty. Clyde would be not guilty. I promise you that, chat. I promise you that. So, but yeah, there are a lot of women on the jury. And remember, guys, what we're fighting for, what we're dealing with today. Yes, racial slurs are considered fighting words. Remember, fighting words go back to any words willing to cause somebody to breach the peace. And in 1942, when the case of Chaplinsky versus New Hampshire happened, it was calling somebody a goddamn fascist and a goddamn racketeer was considered fighting words. Basically, now it's just racial slurs. So that's the thing now. Let's see here. I'm nothing for Sarah Fields yet. Still waiting. But remember, this is Shiloh.
Did you call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one is gonna
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're going to call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Yes, the brave Somali sitting there. Yes. Neither the kid or dad know English like they care. Well, remember, it's not just them, it's other people there. It could be like, oh, it was disorderly and it affected me and I didn't like it. So it can affect other people that way. Yes. Notice she was never called a liar. Yeah, that's very true. Very true, chat. That is super, super, super true. And let's see here. What happened? Oh, so some people are saying the jury screwed up and the jury misunderstood. Uh-oh. I mean, that happens sometimes. That happens sometimes, guys. Let's see here. I may be convicted for being a child molester, but I never use a slur, says the Somali filming. Yeah. They couldn't fill out the form correctly. Okay, so it's going back. Oh, no. Well, you guys are saying that's like, believe it or not, that happens all the time. Jurors misunderstand. And like, I've seen it before where like they had guilty and not guilty both checked on a box. And we're like, you guys need to go back and do this. Only check one. Only check one. That happens there. But to be fair, there are times where as you're sitting there looking at it, like there's times where I've sat there with the defense attorney, you know, as a prosecutor and defense attorney. You're sitting there with opposing counsel and you look at the jury form. Judge looks at it. We're like, this makes total sense. Like, We're like, oh, yes, this right here. This is perfect. This is perfect, chat. Premium jury instructions. Can't fix it any better, Judge. Judge is like, I think I did a goddamn good job. And then the jury gets it and they go, I don't understand what this means. And they come in and they basically like, you're like, just put an X here on this line or this. You're like, put an X on this line or this line. And instead you get something like this. Or sometimes you get that. Or sometimes you just get it back blank and they're like, well, you don't understand. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do, chat. So, but no, guys, we're going to wrap up here. Actually, instead of locals, I think we're going to switch over to Shiloh Hendrix Trial, our verdict watch. Read Carmelo's appeal. They already have it done? How do they have it done already? Oh, she got convicted on one count. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They convicted her on one count? Horse shit. Horse shit. That is awful. That is awful. This is, oh God. This is just redonkulastic, chat. Okay. So count 1, towards the child, guilty. Count 2, towards the videographer, guilty. What fucking horse shit? What fucking horse shit? She should appeal that. She should 100% fucking appeal that. That is absolutely horse shit. What a travesty of justice. What a travesty of justice. And it's because of this.
Did you call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
What a fuck! What kind of fucking faggot like this Somali? Like, oh, did this hurt me? You fucking bitch! You fucking bitch out there, you little Somali bitch! Yeah. What a pussy! What a pussy! What a pussa! Second-class citizen for $20. Thank you. It says, I would say I could fix her, but there is nothing to fix. I understand that. Place my batteries, please. Says, here's my stoop-sitting, stinky-fingered, archaic hominid. I'll call him whatever I want. Yes, my bipedal hominid. Remember, bipedal. Bipedal hominid. It's important. It's important to draw the distinctions. But yeah, here we go, chat. As we saw, oh, absolute horseshit. Absolute horseshit here in America, but hey, I guess that's what it is. Absolutely ridiculous, chat. Absolutely ridiculous. So, absolutely. I just, chat, there is no justice in this world. I just don't know what you do. Hold on, chat. All right, chat. Oh, God. Somebody just sent me a bunch of stuff there, but yeah, absolutely. Oh. That's a black pill, chat. That's a black pill. How is it not guilty towards a child, but guilty towards a videographer? I think because they could say they saw it on here, and I don't know if the videographer even came in, but they probably couldn't find the fucking guy. I hope he got deported. He's like, no, that make me so sad. You call me a Negro, and I not like that, but I am not like my Prophet Muhammad. So yeah, what a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. Oh. So Chud was right. Well, Chud was a bit of an idiot in how he handled himself. So yes, the light bulb head Somalis won. Time to reconquista Minnesota. Yes, they need help. Yeah, absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. We get fucked. Yeah, we are grieving. Yeah, we have to deal with the chat. Why is it say it to my face a fighting word? I don't know. I don't know. Valcatal says appeal time. I think so. I think she should appeal 100%. Where's Chili DeCastro when you need him? She faces up to 90 days in jail, but they're probably going to do a sentencing investigation and report on that. So we'll see what happens. And yes, you know, why can't she be pardoned? Tim Walz pardoned a fucking pedophile, and then the guy got deported. So there you go. Who wants to be El Cid? Oh, so they thought Dad was lying. I think so a little bit there. I think so a little bit. I think more is they were just like, they didn't see her on camera saying it, but she called the guy on camera a nigger, and that's why they cited her for it, or they charged her. So they should have hired Barnes as clearly a constitutional thing. Yes, the Reconquista will be at Stoney's. Yeah, but Stoney's, unlike Spain, that's not going to be the Santiago de Compostela. Like, we're not, like, what, like, that was one of the big goals of the Reconquista, was securing the cathedral doors to the church that the Muslims had stolen from it. What is our Santiago de Compostela in Minnesota? We need something to retain, chat, and fight for. So was there a watermark on the videos? Oh, what happened to me? I don't know what happened. Was there a watermark on the videos? Funny. Funny, chat. Funny. She was complying with his request to call him a nigger. Yes, she obliged. Sweet Tooth Fairy says, what do they do when they have a pre-sentence investigation? It's a good question. So what happens there is the court doesn't know anything about you except for what's in the complaint and then what happened at trial. They don't know anything about Shiloh. What did she do in her life? What did she do in it? What was her life like up to the point of today? And when this event happened, you know, did she go, like, what's her medical history? What's her family history? What's her financial history? What's her mental health history? Did she work? Did she go to school? Did she have a job? What kind of jobs? Did she have problems with the law before this? You know, did she do drugs? Blah, this, that, blah, 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 blah. Literally everything you'd want to tell somebody, but it's done in a way where they can verify it and give it to the court and say, we verified. Because if you just show up at court and say, I did a bunch of stuff, there's no way for them to check. But ahead of time, they're going to verify, did you go to school? Do you have drug problem? Like, all those different things they might need to help you with too. So it's all the stuff you want to tell a judge that they can go verify independently. So, how much did that Somali make on TikTok for that video? I don't know. I don't know. I can't use the pass. If you give it to me, no. So she has undiagnosed Tourette's. Yeah. Deadpool says Somalis 1, y'all 0. Yes. Yes, it is. It is. Did Mark Richards use fighting words in public in court? Yes. And I've done that before in court too. Remember, chat, I've said this before. When you're in court and the other party swears, like the victim in the case will swear and say swear words towards the defendant, I get to use them. I get to 100% use them. You know, like I said, I had a case recently where I got involved and I kept on telling them, you know, I kept on confronting the victim with his words of fuck you and everyone who looks like you as he screamed that at a black guy. And I got to say probably 15 times, fuck you and everyone who looks like you. And I screamed it. I said, you know, and because I asked the cop, like, how loud was it? And he's like, from what I understand, it was pretty loud. And I say, is that as loud as you yelled it at my client? And the guy was like, actually, yes. And I screamed it at him. It was awesome. It was awesome. You guys do whatever you want. I have gotten to drop the hard R in court before. Like once. I used it sparingly, but I did get to do it before. So, this user 404 says, I'm doing my part. Yes, being here for 6 months. All right, chat. Well, guys, do you want me to switch over and do like a Shiloh Hendrix verdict? We might do that for a little bit. I don't know. Do you guys think that's really good or worth the time? Because we might also just go straight over to locals. I want you to cross-examine Kramer at the Laugh Factory. Yeah, you know what? I might go live tomorrow and do a Shiloh Hendrix stream tomorrow morning. We'll cover that probably. I'll talk to Bronca and see if he wants to do a collab. So maybe. We'll see. Yeah, we already got the verdict. All right, guys. So we are going to head over to locals, potentiallycriminal.locals.com. Promo code DFLOCKAmerica gets you in there for free for 1 month, and you can come watch the show with us and hang out. So, chat, I will see you guys tomorrow. And remember, until next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Even Shiloh Hendrix, you're not guilty. You did nothing wrong, queen. Keep your head up. Keep your head up, girl. Good night, chat. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the